Hi there, welcome to highschoolmaths.co.uk. Today we're going to be looking at calculations involving or using scientific notation. So scientific notation calculations are most of the time completed in the calculator, and you will hopefully have seen some scientific notation before. We're going to go over a quick recap of just the basics of that, but every calculator has their times 10 to the power button, which is the whole basis for scientific notation, in a different place. I've put two of the kind of common calculators here and highlighted where the times 10 to the power button is. So in the first one, in the Casio one, in this model, you can see it has a separate button for times 10 to the power x. And here on the Sharp calculator, it's just above the button that says log, and so you'd have to press second function and then hit that button. That would bring up the 10 to the power button, and that's your times 10 to the power whatever you're looking at. So here we've got a basic calculation, just to check that that works out okay. You don't need the brackets. I find when you're writing it out, it helps keep the part in scientific notation all together and separate from the times 30, but you don't need them. So here we've got 4.5 times 10 to the power 8, and we're going to multiply that by 30. And it's just as simple as multiplying any numbers on a calculator, as long as you know where that times 10 button is. So you type in 4.5, then you hit your times 10 to the power button, which will be in a different place depending on your calculator. Once you've got that, it should automatically bring the power, so type in 8. Now depending on your calculator here, you may have to use the arrow to move across. Just make sure that after you've typed in the 8, you're not still up in the little, if there's a little box, make sure you're not in the power part. Okay, then type in times 30. You should get the answer 1.35 times 10 to the power 10. So if you did get that, then that means you're on the right track and you've pressed the right buttons. If you didn't, go back and try it again until you get the answer to make sure you can hit the right thing. Okay. The next example we've got is one in context. Now, scientific notation comes up in a variety of different ways, so it's really important that you know the different contexts and know how they all work. It could come up in a speed, distance, time question. It could come up in just a normal kind of number work question, so you have to read the questions carefully. Here we've got the radius of the Earth is 6.37 times 10 to the power 6 meters. That's approximate. Calculate the circumference of the Earth. So we're talking about assuming the Earth is perfectly spherical, which I know it's not, but assuming the Earth is perfectly spherical, then we want to calculate the circumference of the Earth. We're going to treat it as a perfect circle, so C equals pi d would be what we want to use here. So C equals pi d. Now, in this instance, we need the diameter. We know that the radius is this. So to change from radius to diameter, we've got to times that number by 2 first of all. Oh, that's not times. So we've got to take that and multiply that by 2. So type it into your calculator. You can do this without the calculator for some simpler numbers, but again, most scientific notation questions will let you use the calculator. Now in this instance, you might get the number as a fully written out number. So it might say 12,740,000. I'm going to write that in scientific notation so we can stick to the format that was used in the question. So that'd be 1.274. So writing down all the non-zeros, and then times 10 to the power, and count how many places along your you've got to move the decimal point or move the number, if that's the way you look at it. And it should be 7. Oh, that doesn't look like 7. Let's try that again. So 1.274 times 10 to the power 7. Now that would be our diameter. Again, just labeling it makes that a little bit clearer to see. That's what I was intending to do there. The circumference of the Earth here is pi times the diameter. So the diameter is 1.274 times 10 to the power 7. So I put it in a bracket. You don't need to. I think it just makes things a little bit neater and kind of gathers things together a little bit better. So we're going to times that by pi, and that should give you, because you're timesing by pi using the pi button in the calculator, you should get an answer something like this: 40,023,890.41. Okay, now what it might ask you to do in the question is round it to so many significant figures. So let's say we want to round that, let's say the question asks us to round it to, let's say, 3 significant figures. So we'll go for 3 significant figures. The 4 is our first significant figure, so there's our 3 significant figures. It's a 2 afterwards, so we're going to round that to, what is this, 40 million right now, so we're going to round that to 40 million. I'll put commas in just so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so the zeros replacing all the digits here, and what we're saying there is it closer to 40 million or 40,100,000, and it's closer to 40 million. Okay, now at this stage we could write it back in scientific notation, so we could say that's 4 or 4.0 times 10 to the power, and we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places, and that is meters for a final unit. Okay, so that's how scientific notation works in the context of a calculation. Really the important thing is you know where the button is and you read the questions carefully, because it could start to kind of get a little bit confusing because you're dealing with more awkward numbers here. Hopefully you found it useful. For our maths videos and resources, please visit highschoolmaths.co.uk, and if you like the video, click that like button and subscribe, and please remember to share the video. Thanks for watching and have a mathemagical day.